name's Jonathan Peschke. I'm one of the co-founders of Mass Training, and Mass simply stands for Martial Arts Success Systems. A lot of you guys that I know on this call are teaching different styles of martial arts, and that's fantastic. I think martial arts as a whole is the best thing anyone could invest in for themselves or their child. I've been doing it forever, and I absolutely love it. However, what we do at Mass Training is we help coach people on how to take whatever they love, whatever style they love, and turn it into a profitable business as well, so that you can earn the kind of money that anyone who's invested 20 years into their career should be earning. Martial arts is one of the few industries you can work for 20 years, you're still doing the same thing and not making any more money than you've ever made in the past. And that's disappointing. Let's fix that. You know, I want more people to want to do what I do, which means I got to lead by example, that you can create a very nice lifestyle if you just help enough other people get what they want. And that's really important, because if you're not keeping your promises, you'll never make it. Up here to my immediate left is Roman, my son, Roman Peschke, and he does a lot of the back-end communications and stuff for Mass Training. He's grown up in the academy since he was born, and is a good martial artist in his own right, but helps out and is probably communicated with every single one of you multiple times. Mr. Mertens isn't here right now. He's actually in Jacksonville at the moment, and he may pop on the call at some point. But we are doing, for any of you guys that are interested in joining us, I think someone's got some background noise going on. But for any of you guys that are in, we have a live training event in Jacksonville, Florida, November 14th, 15th, and 16th. And Roman, if you'd post the link to that for anyone that wants any more information, he'll post that in our comment section here.
Yep.
Also, just so you know, if you want to schedule a one-on-one call, we'll post the link for that as well, and we can talk more specifically about how we might be able to help you individually. So, with that being said, let's get down to brass tacks. If you guys are running your business and it's not exactly where you want it to be, let's feel free to raise your hand, speak up, or post in the chat, and I will do my best to answer your question. I am here to help. So this is a great opportunity to get some free advice on how to improve what you need help with. Now, until we have something there, let me tell you, typically when we do coaching calls, we start with the numbers. Most karate guys don't even know their numbers, and that's unfortunate, because it is like taking the pulse of your business, and without knowing your numbers, you're kind of dead in the water and just shooting from the hip. What numbers should you know? How many leads do you have so far for the month? How many appointments do you have for the month? How many trials have you sold? How many appointments have shown up? How many single and family memberships resulted from those trials? How many upgrades have you done? How many people have advanced in rank? And what's the total over the counter? And what's the total billing going to be? So there's 10 numbers that tell the story, and they give you the full picture of the health of your academy. Now people say, oh, well, that doesn't matter. My students love me. Well, that's great. They should. But that doesn't tell me the health of your academy. That tells me your feelings. And in business, feelings don't matter when it comes to your bank account. So with those numbers, well, heck, I'm going to open up the floor. Here we got something. What questions can I answer for you? Tactical, philosophical, you name it.
Hey, sir, could I ask you a quick question?
Please.
All righty. I'm getting ready to change my class schedule.
Right.
I'm doing away with my adult program and incorporating them into either the black belt training or the basic training program.
Okay.
So now, as they go to their appropriate program,
yes,
I should maintain an X pattern for my
Uh-oh, we lost your sound. I can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
So I don't know
There we
why.
go. You're
Oh,
back.
there. Okay, let me put my hand here.
You're
All right.
back.
Should I maintain the X pattern in my schedule? So I have like,
I,
earlier and then two
I
later.
yeah, I would like for our Natomas Academy, right? And by the way, for you guys that are first time listeners, I guess, we actually own and operate 4 schools right here in Sacramento. And this is our experiment. This is our laboratory. Anything we've ever recommended, we've done here first. And we only recommend doing what's always worked. And then we have a long list of clients that are very successful because they're very consistent. So then we deploy it to them next, because that way we can accurately measure the results. And then we'll share it with everybody because it's been proven to work in any demographic. So now back to your question. I think if you're going to have 8 classes, for example, I would do Monday, Wednesday, or let's say if you have 8 classes, you have to have one early, one late. So yeah, it would
Sure.
make sense to flip flop. So if you have a class at 5 and 6, then the next day the class could still be at 5 and 6, but maybe you switch the group. However, what I would ultimately recommend you get to is just teach the class, and you can come at 5 or 6, your choice. Because one
Regardless of
thing,
rank
regardless of rank, if
or
you can't,
program that they're in.
I don't care what program you're in. We're all on our way to black belt, aren't we? In my opinion, we're all on our way to black belt. Now, whether you've committed to basic or black belt or leadership or charter, that's a different conversation. But we're all marching towards black belt, right? Remember, we've talked about this in the past. How do mega churches get 10,000 people to show up on Sunday? They're all there for the same exact reason. Everyone's trying to get to heaven. Now, they're also there for the community, the fellowship. They're there for a lot of different reasons too. But the big reason why they're all there is to get to heaven. Well, why do people come to class in your academy? To get to black belt. Now, some of them are on basic, some are on black belt, some are on leadership, some are on charter, but they're all marching towards black belt. And the good news is, if you're teaching a structured lesson, 90% of the class, they can be doing the same thing the same way under the supervision of a single instructor, even, provided your class is structured and has discipline. So let me give you an example. Our class planner, we line up, we bow in, we warm up, we do conditioning, we do a little drill called get to know your neighbor connection. We do skill development, we do another skill development. We might do some rank specific training. And then we bring them back together for cool down, stretching, announcements, and awards of stripes and belts, and dismissal. So out of that whole laundry list of items, how many of those items do I need to break them up for? Just the one. Just the one.
I have to be able to get head to
I know.
wrap around it, so to speak.
I get it. Usually it takes a few dozen times for people to really remember. And Master Gartland, you've made some significant changes, and I applaud you for that. You'll keep having aha moments for the next couple of years, because it takes hearing things more than once for it to wrap your head around, as you said. I mean, that's where I was 10 years ago. I get it. I get it. I get it. But yeah, if you came out there and saw a class today, you'll see 50 people on the mat, ranging from 4 to 65, white belt through 4th or 5th degree.
Will you ever have any specialty type training classes? Like, when do you do your sparring or your weapons training? Because your basic training members won't do that.
No, you are absolutely correct. Basic training gets to do basic. Higher level training gets to do higher level training.
Are they excused earlier?
We used to do that. We've evolved into another one, but that's usually how people start. They go from having a separate class to having an extension of class to maybe at some point doing it in class. Like, for example, for our black belt training members and our basic members that are in the same class, we used to do like an extension of 15 or 20 minutes for black belt training. They got to do higher level stuff, and I'm cool with that. But we finally got to the point where we realized maybe we don't even have to extend the class. We can do it in the class. Where, for example, if we're doing board breaking, you guys that are in basic will be doing front kicks with a person holding a shield. But for you guys that are in black belt training, you're going to be doing the front kick, practicing your board break. So I've got the whole class practicing the front kick, but some of them are doing it on boards, some of them are doing it on targets.
And the class time is going to be the same?
Right. That's right.
I mean, is it going to be overwhelming for a white belt to have the same training length as a
Well, the whole
second dan?
class, it depends on how long you want to train them for. See, we train them 45 minutes at a clip. Less time, higher intensity. Okay. Typically, they don't need more time. What they need is more intensity. Think about that. The more time you have, the more laid back it becomes.
Man.
And that's why these conversations are so important. You know, if you're
not me here,
talking about stuff,
making my hair turn white. Look at this.
Now, again, there's steps that can be taken in between as well. It's not one way or the highway. This is what we've grown, you know, we've tested out a lot of things over the last 10 years.
How's it going, Dave? Busy.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute Larry real quick, I think. Can I
run the guys.
Larry for me? There we go. Larry, I'm glad you're here. So here's what most schools start with. Most schools will start with compress the schedule, right? And let's do it by the numbers. We talked about that last week. How do you figure out how many classes a week you need to offer? You do the math. It's not emotional, it's numerical, right? And then we look at, okay, well, if this is the amount of classes I need to provide the service I promised, no problem, Larry. Maybe I just need to restructure how I'm delivering the content. And again, notice I didn't say change the content. I didn't say water down the content. Maybe I need to modify the way I'm delivering the content. Right? So that's a whole different deal. Now, if I want to get more parents involved, which is the shortcut, if I want to get more parents involved, maybe I need to slow it down a little bit. Like we went to go see, you guys have met on this call before, a guy named Romeo Gregory. He's down in Oxnard, California. When he first came on board about 3 years ago, the guy was curled up in a ball ready to throw in the towel. I mean, COVID really did a number on him. He didn't make a comeback. He was down. He was ready to quit. He's like, I don't know what to do. He reached out. Now the guy does 50, 60 grand a month like clockwork. All right. And he only works 4 days a week. And he only teaches 2 classes a day. And he goes camping and fishing and is with his brand new truck and fifth wheel every weekend. I mean, the guy is living his best life. And it's him and one other person, 2-person operation. Okay. In Oxnard, which isn't a nice area. So what did he do? He thought, okay, well, how can I streamline this? How can I slow it down? But like when we first went to visit his school, he went through some growth right away because he started doing marketing and he improved his enrollment systems. But then the next thing we had to look at was his delivery system. Oh my goodness, it was chaos. We went down there. He had a packed class, 40 people, all kids. And for the warm up, they're running down the floor. They're doing crab walks. They're doing bear crawls. They're doing all this crazy stuff. And I looked at him and I said, look at all those parents in the lobby. It's like 20, 30 parents in the lobby. You will never get those mommies to join that class. Never. Can you tell me why?
They don't want to do. The little kids are doing bear walks and frog hops and crabs.
Number one, they can't do it. Number two, they don't want to do it. So we had to ask ourselves, what am I doing in the class that I can't get a 40-year-old mommy to do? And maybe I need to get rid of that. Now, sometimes people go, well, yeah, but they need to learn this or that. Do they need to learn it as a white belt? Really? I mean, for us, and everyone's different, but for us, our goal is to take a person through 300 lessons so that they will be prepared to pass a black belt test. Do I need to do high-level physical training as a white belt if my focus is 300 classes down the road? The answer is no. How do I ease them into it? How do I make it, I mean, think about, we equate this to children in school. You don't ask a first grader to do seventh grade level homework. You don't ask a seventh grader to do college level curriculum. And yet in martial arts, we tend to treat the white belts almost the same as we treat a red belt. It's crazy. Now, you might say, well, yeah, my red belts do jump, spin, hook kicks. Okay, but what conditioning are you putting them through? You know, what are you doing at the front end of what are you doing in your class? Are you going to ask a 40-year-old, 30-pound overweight mom who hasn't worked out since high school and probably didn't work out then, and you put her in a big blousy uniform and say, run and jump over these 6 pads I stacked up? She will never attend your class again, ever. So slow it down. What do I need to have her do? Maybe we just need to do a little bit of cardio. Heck, jumping jacks will probably get her heaving. Maybe I need to work on some flexibility training. Maybe I need to start doing some coordination drill. Maybe I need to start developing skills to get her there. I don't want to teach a kid's class. I want to teach the class. In fact, if I had my way, I'm teaching really an adult class that the kids can follow along in. Think about that. How did martial arts get into romper room in the first place? Well, you had some good martial art marketing guys that said, get down on one knee and give them a Disney experience. Come on, Timmy, you can do it. Yeah, okay. Sure. And that's how everything became so distorted in our industry. How about we go back old school and just teach martial arts? Why don't we just start people off with fundamentals and basics and develop real skills that would be applicable should they ever need them, and make it fun, but don't make it silly. You know, what's fun in martial arts, in my mind, what's fun is achievement, success, the feeling, the empowerment. And I don't care if you're 5 years old or 45 years old, that feeling's real. But yeah, the idea that we've got to entertain everybody, it's a mistake. You know, it makes you a slave to them. It makes you the kindercare coach. And that's a low-paying job.
Do you do any other curriculum support, like on Facebook groups or through an app where students get anything of that nature?
No. Because what I want them to do is come to class 2 days a week. For how long? Forever. And what lends to that is getting the parents involved. If this becomes mom's thing, that membership will last years. If it's Timmy's activity, how long are seasonal sports? 12 weeks? They don't last long enough. Right? So again, right now we're just kind of like in getting the mindset changed a little bit stage. So, you know, people go, well, how, I can't implement this right now. Yeah, you're right. But we got to start thinking about differently so we can find how to implement things differently, right?
Yes, sir.
But, you know, now, in all honesty, in our main location, we do have a Monday, 5 o'clock leadership and black belt class because we can fill the class, again, by the numbers. In the other 3 locations, we don't have that class because there's not enough of them to fill the mat. So their more advanced training is a portion of the class. But again, if you have the discipline of a martial arts academy, I mean, if I go back to when I first started teaching 30 years ago, it's been that long? Early 90s? No, maybe 25 years ago. There was just one class, one instructor, and everyone had to be ready for belt testing next month. And every belt had a different form. Every belt had a different set of self-defense techniques. Every belt had a different set of sparring combinations. Every belt had different knowledge. And so if you had 10 ranks in class, you're teaching 30 different things. You had to be really freaking good to pull that off. Now, most people do a rotating curriculum, which makes it so much easier. But to think that you can't teach more than one thing in a class, who brainwashed us into that? Now, for the bulk of the class, you can do one thing for everybody because they all have to do conditioning. They all got to do skill development, and you can vary that too. The white belts are doing front kicks, red belts are doing jump front kicks on my count. Everyone works in unison. Structure. See, in my mind, I'm sure everyone on this call has seen Enter the Dragon, right? Yes? I hope so. Maybe. You know the scene in the field where they've got a few hundred people out on the field, all moving in unison, doing their punches and blocks by count? That's a martial arts class. That's what I want. I want 150 people moving on command, developing focus, discipline, skills. That's what I have in my imagination. In my mind's eye, that's what I want every class to look like. Massive class under the control of an instructor. I mean, when my instructor was a badass, he strutted on the floor, said, line up, and everyone was at attention. So, yeah, I want to encourage people to be more like that than, running around jumping through hula hoops. Right? So let's see. Somebody, Rich, when he gets his camera back on, I think he had his hand up. All right. So, Master Garland, did I answer your question? Ask it again.
Yes,
because
sir.
like I went off on a wild tangent, and I don't even know if I had answered your question.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah, the X pattern. We lost your sound again, but the X pattern, yeah. But the truth is, I think for the bulk of your schedule, it should just be the class. Now, especially because you've shared the size of your facility and you have more than just you. So it'd be very easy for a segment of class to break them into two groups and do this and that, and then bring them back together again. See, even our, now we do a quarterly, I do a black belt seminar. Weekly, we have that advanced class that they can attend. We do things for them, but it's not a part of our regular schedule. All of our black belts attend regular class too. And they do it because I tell them to. And here's what I say. All of you guys need to be attending regular classes. You know that, right? Your training never stops. Heck, I still practice front kicks, round kicks, side kicks. If you're not practicing your basics, you're going to suck eventually. So we've got to stay sharp. And by being in the family class, you get to be the example for others to follow. So you can't take it easy because the yellow belts can only do that. You've got to be the shiny example that the yellow belts go, ooh, I hope to one day become that. See, because if they're not giving their best, you don't get credit for class. I mean, you're still in charge. You're always in charge. So, yeah, I want the black belts in the class because then I will also call them out. I'll say, parents, like I had this one guy, Jesse Garcia, 15-year-old, second-degree black belt. In front of him was a yellow belt. Kids' push-ups were goofy as all get out. I could see the mom being embarrassed. I stopped. I thought, all right, everybody, watch Jesse Garcia do a push-up. Jesse, do a push-up. 1, 2, 3. Look at that. Body's straight all the way down, all the way up. He's on his front two knuckles even. Holy cow. That's a second-degree black belt. Now, parents, I know it's easy to judge. Oh, my kid's not doing as good as him. I said, Jesse, how old were you when you started martial arts with me? 5, sir. How old are you now? 15. What's the difference between that kid and your kid? Just the number of classes they've attended. So the goal is to simply keep showing up. Always do your best and keep showing up. Because parents, everyone in here can have a kid looking just like that kid, just like him, maybe even better. Who knows? But the goal is not that he's better. The goal is he doesn't miss a beat. He always shows up. He gives his best. Give him a hand. Woo! All right, good. Now I'm making eye contact with that lady getting all worried about her yellow belt. Mrs. Smith, even your kid, heck, 300 more lessons, he's going to be looking just as good. I can't wait. On to the next activity, on to the next drill. See, a lot of times we think just delivering the content is enough. It's not, guys. It's the conversations that sell the membership. It's the words, the lesson. Everyone thinks it's this. That's what attracts people. But what keeps people is this. See, this is the workout. This is the lesson. The workout is the activity of martial arts. The lesson is what builds real value and retention and allows you to upgrade people to sign off to become something more than they ever thought they could be. All right. Boy, that was a lot. Next question. I hope that was helpful, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. Rich, I saw your mouth moving, but we couldn't hear a word. All right. Well, we'll come back to that. All right. So if you look at, we talked about how the numbers that we measure tell the story. It also shows the holes. So if we're not getting enough leads, we can't do enough business. There's 3 ways to get leads: online, offline, inline. How we nurture and care for those leads and how good we are at selling them a trial, well, that determines how many appointments we set and how many trials we sell. When they come in for their appointment, which you have like a 99% show rate since they've paid you over the phone, the next gap could be the number of appointments that show to the number that go. If that's not at least 50%, well, there's the leak. Okay, let's fix that. Maybe we need to change what we're saying, how we're saying it. Maybe the tour is off. Maybe the orientation lesson's off. Maybe we're delivering too much too soon. That's typically the issue. So let's fix that. If we have, all right, so leads to appointments should be at least 25%. Appointments to trials should be over 100%. Appointments to enrollments, appointments show to enrollment should be at least 50%. And then enrollments to upgrades should be at least 50% again. And if we're not hitting our percentages, that's a clear indication of where the leak is. So now we can double down on fixing that piece of the puzzle to plug the leak, fill the hole, and fill that bucket, which helps you grow your roster, which helps you grow your testing numbers, which helps you grow the number of black belts, and most certainly through all that growing helps grow your bank account. Sometimes people, we talk about the money a lot because we're martial art business coaches. If we don't talk about the money, we're not your instructors. We're not your students' instructors. We're business coaches. So let's talk about the business. And the way to measure the business is the money. Period. And people say, oh, well, I don't want to be about the money. That's cool. Go teach at the park for free. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that is cool. And I know a few people that do that. There's not a thing wrong with it. But if you want this to be a career, to provide for your family, to be able to hire other people and pay them well and help them grow into staff members that have a real opportunity at a career, well, then we have to pave that way. We have to go first. We got to make it a career so we can inspire others to have a career in this. Otherwise, truth is, our martial art would die. It's going to disappear.
John, can you hear me now?
Yes, there you go. You're
okay,
in.
Yeah, technical difficulties. Okay.
So here's the question, sir. Yes,
here's
sir.
the question I keep trying to wrap my head around, and we talked about this briefly the other day, and I mentioned it because other members may have the same thing. How do we teach 5 through 8-year-olds in the same class as adults past the beginner phase? I understand the beginner phase, but once we start getting into the more intermediate phase, things definitely change for those 2 groups. How do we keep going forward with that?
Mr. Burton, do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, well, let's talk about the change. What changes?
With my art, there's considerable amount of changes. We're heavily grappling based and weapons based, and I also teach first aid. And these are not things I'm going to be teaching a 5 through 8-year-old. I'm not going to teach them choke outs. I'm not going to teach them arm breaks. I'm not going to teach them things like that. And it's also not what I'm going to teach a mom, going back to what John had said. We have to have classes that are good with them. So eventually there's going to be a split phase where some students will want to continue on in this much more advanced form of martial art, and others want to stay in what I'm currently calling the family martial art program.
Okay, so what you're describing is a upgrade potential.
Yes, absolutely.
So the way you segregate that is based on membership. So for example, the class starts at 5 o'clock. Mom, dad, and the kids are on the mat. At 5:45, the class changes its direction. For the students who are more firmly committed to membership, the training goes on for the 15, 20 minutes, but they're doing what you just described. Meanwhile, everybody else bows out and leave the mat.
Okay, that's kind of the decision. I was thinking of where I need to go with this, so that I guess that works. Again, because I'm wrapping my head around this, all new concept for me. Do we provide a different belt system for those two groups? So I've got this upgraded system, so the progression's a little different. What they do is a little different. Do we start everybody in what I'll call family beginner martial arts or family martial arts? We get them through the beginner phase, and out there, I can continue teaching family-friendly martial arts, have own belt system, own requirements. That's fine. For those who want to go into the more advanced Koru art, it's like, okay, you now qualify. Let's get it where, hey, you made it. You qualify. You have the skills to start doing this, and then just teaches something totally different. That's a different class, different offer.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily make it a different class. I would make it an extension. What gums up the works is that as a student becomes involved in your program, whether they change rank or change program, it typically means you got to change their start time. Right. One of the secrets to keeping people longer is don't penalize them because they choose to upgrade or get more deeply involved by changing their class time. One of the things you got to realize, and again, this has everything to do with if you decide to become a family-based organization. To become family-based implies that mom, dad, and the kids can start the class at the same time. All right, so now what we're talking about is what will be included in your upgraded membership. But the goal isn't to make them a perfect color belt. The goal is to get them the black belt, because that's where the real training begins. So for now, as you look at your schedule, there are three things to consider. Number one, can I leverage that class time where I have 80% capacity? And I see some new folks on the call, so let me explain that. Capacity implies a number of students you can comfortably put onto the mat so you can conduct a great class. So let's say in this example, I have space for 24 students. Well, that's 100% capacity. However, my goal would be to have at least 18 students show up in that lesson each and every time I teach. If I'm not able to do that, well, I have to communicate more clearly to my membership to go to that class, or I have to reduce the number of classes so I can amp up the number of people in the lesson. The second thing is, although they're starting at the same time, it doesn't mean they do the same thing the same way throughout the entire lesson. This is where segregation comes in. But as Master Pesky pointed out a few moments ago, during the class, a lot of stuff everybody can do simultaneously. Your warm up, your stretching, your basic regiment. So you segregate the class not based on rank, but based on program. That being said, I took a mental note. Don't call it a beginner's class. Call it basic.
Basic class.
If it's basic, well, we can upgrade people more readily, as opposed to beginner means you're brand spanking new, and there's certain things you have to do before you're able to upgrade. So it's not a beginner class, it's basic. But the third thing is, in order for you to be successful, as Master Pesky pointed out a few moments ago, the fun part is progress. The fun part is helping your students realize that they are getting better, they are being recognized. So that's where the whole class credit thing comes in. So what we've done differently compared to most academies is that we're not basing it on knowledge of content. We're basing it on the number of times you participate in the regimen of class, and that's what's rewarded in terms of stripes and belts. So it's a little bit different. But what you just described to me is, hey, your students may have to wade through the chop suey to know what to do after a few months of training. So keep in mind, if you're going to do more advanced training, charge for that by allowing your students to enroll in a higher level program. And you can provide the segregation on the mat. And if it just becomes too congested, that's when you add classes. You don't add classes because you want more students. You add classes because you have more students. And as you increase your membership roster, that's when you might extend the schedule. Now, did I answer your question? Because I think your concern is, hey, wait a minute. A 5-year-old can't do what a 10-year-old, well, a 10-year-old can, and a 10-year-old can't do what a 20-year-old can. All right, well, that's, you have to study your curriculum a little bit more closely, and decide, is there a way you can massage your curriculum where more people can stay in the class for a longer length of time? And the time frame I'm talking about is given the black belt. Everything happens after black belt, really. this idea of having colored belts and each student being able to perform all the techniques within that rank is a great idea. But the problem is that system of teaching was alive and well back in the 60s and 70s. But when you had 50, 60 students, you were the king of the hill. Now, if you only have 50, 60 students, you might be broke. So we have to realize that we have to provide a greater opportunity for more people to train at the same time. And for the old dogs on this call, that's a tough leap to make. But once you make it, you'll never go back. So you tell me, what are you taking from my long-winded answer?
No, I'm understanding everything you say, and I'm one of those old dogs. I might not look it, but I've been doing this 30 years myself, and and I come from very traditional Koru arts. So as you know, yeah, we spent a long time training, and there's some really advanced skills, and I have to really just go back to the books and totally reorganize my entire syllabus to do what we're talking about. And I'm not unwilling, it's just challenging. Because as you said, I mean, the way I've been thinking in my head, and I don't put it this way to be in an insulting way, so let me throw that out there, but it's kind of like, okay, this is what I had to come to terms with. I have this fantastic, meal plan that is going to be great for your mind, body, spirit, right? Wonderful. But the masses want McDonald's, not that.
Okay.
I mean, I find a few people who want that, but the masses want McDonald's. I accepted that, but then as we talked more about combining everybody into the same family group all the time, says, yeah, but now I got to serve Happy Meals to everybody because the 5-year-olds want their free toy.
Maybe Rich, I've had this conversation probably 1,001 times.
I'm sure that's why I mentioned.
So, guys, this has been for everybody. Okay, ready? You gotta fill in the blank. Black belt equals what? What's the answer? I mean, if we ask everybody on this call, I might have a different answer. So let me give it a answer that may be unifying. Black belt equals they're ready to start training. Black belt doesn't equal instructor. Black belt doesn't equal expert. Black belt doesn't equal Olympic champion. Black belt equals the level of training that I had to provide to get people to the rank of black belt. And then I can pick and choose what direction I'm going to take them. A lot of folks think black belt equals, well, that guy is really good. He probably can teach. They're two separate paths. I think of the difference between avocation and occupation. The average karate guy, they think they're training the student to one day come on board and actually decide that being an instructor will be his occupation. They're two separate paths. Let me give you a great example. Yoga. I don't know if you guys do yoga, but I tell you, it's just as challenging as martial arts, and it addresses the needs to be physically fit, emotionally mature. As a matter of fact, if you think about both yoga and martial arts, they lay claim to the same benefits: cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, flexibility, overall coordination. So both yoga and martial arts provide the same outcome. Now, the only difference might be self-defense tactics. But check this out. How many people currently study martial arts? Well, there are 4,700 right here in Jacksonville, another 5,000 down south. I mean, we got a lot of students, right? We're all impressed with that, but check this out. Here in North America, approximately 3.2 million take martial arts. Google it. Over 90 million are involved in yoga. What's the difference? Well, the difference is we're training our students like they're all going to be killers and when they become instructors. Where yoga and trains them as being students. But if they do decide to pursue a higher level training, don't worry, they got a certification program for that. So maybe the dilemma is I'm trying to create a black belt who can do it all. They can defend themselves. They're in great shape. They can even teach a class if I'm absent. That's the rub. So maybe we need to rethink it where black belt doesn't equal I'm an instructor. Black belt equals I accomplish and actualize my potential, follow a particular curriculum. However, they want to become an instructor. Don't worry, we have an answer for that. We even have an entry-level program for instructors called apprenticeship. And that's something that maybe you should look at to where the student who is interested in accelerating their training and learn more about teaching, learn more about the specifics of your art, there could be a higher level of training. But your term fast food, I get it. That's where the whole Mac Dojo came in. But the truth of the matter is, if we can help more people earn and enjoy success early on in the membership, they'll stay longer. And if they stay longer, you end up with a whole bunch of students. And from within that that enterprise within that membership, then you can provide opportunity for people to become an instructor. But let me go back to what I just said. What does black belt equal? Black belt, in my mind's eye, does not equal that they've accomplished all. They've done nothing but great things. Black belt means they've stuck with it long enough to where they have the fundamentals where now we can get to work. And I think if you make that segregation in your mind's eye, you'll have an easier time, perhaps reducing your curriculum without reducing the quality of the class, without reducing the intensity. But I think sometimes we want more for our students than they want for themselves. And before you know it, they're doing too much too soon, too fast, and they're gone. So here's the litmus test. How many black belts do you have? Now, that's a rhetorical question, but how many black belts do you have? Well, I can guarantee I can give everyone the answer that they can agree with. Ready? Here's the answer. Not enough of them. And the reason why we don't have enough of them is that we made it too friggin' difficult to get there. So maybe there's 3 things you should consider. Number 1 is change your mind about what black belt means. Does it mean they're qualified for instructor? Because think about it. You meet somebody at dinner party and they hear you're a karate guy and they'll say, hey, are you a black belt? Hey, yeah. And then they'll make that funny noise, of course.
Yeah.
And straight away, the next question is, well, where do you teach? And there's the problem. That's the problem of the entire industry. We think black belt equals high level instructor. It doesn't. It means somebody who's training to develop themselves physically, mentally, maybe even emotionally. But if you kind of back off the idea of what the net result of a black belt is, you're going to end up helping more people. I mean, hundreds of more people. Second thing is this. What makes teaching so difficult is when your people don't get it. I mean, particularly the younger ones. So maybe one of the things we have to do too is teach less curriculum, but with more intensity. And you end up not only having an easier time teaching, your students are successful as well. You know, the hardest thing about an instructor's job is to get people to get as good as what you think they should be. However, our job, what we've realized, that we're going to help people actualize whatever potential they may have. And if they're athletically inclined, don't worry, we'll get some good ones. Because in the grand scheme of things, if you have 100 students, here's the breakdown. 10 of these folks will be exceptional. They'll be highly athletic. 20% of these students will be a different kind of exceptional. Well, they'll bring a certain set of challenges. But on average, 7 out of 10 students are on average. So that's the sweet spot. But when you find those 10%ers that want to take it all the way, or those 20%ers that need additional help, then you can start segregating how you teach those types of classes. But the third thing is this, guys, it's got to be fun. You know, for some of us, the fun wore out, and it wore out because we're frustrated. The workload of teaching is so severe because, again, we didn't clearly define what the ranks represent, what they're trying to serve, and where you're going. But in my mind, the shortcut to your success is stop thinking that a black belt is everything. The black belt is the start of things. And if we think that developing a student to black belt level also equals their ability to teach and walk through walls and defend themselves with 10 people, well, the people that need our help the most, we won't have a chance to help them. That was a $10 answer to a $5 question, but there you have it.
No, I agree with everything you said. I've always had the mentality that black belt and instructor are 2 different things.
Yeah.
So I'm on board with that 100%.
Yeah, that can alleviate some of the challenges you might have as far as your curriculum.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to get as many people as possible to the first level black belt, because now they've embraced a lifestyle, and now the real fun begins. Now the real training begins. Now you can do programs that incorporate, you know, more grappling, throwing, first aid, all that stuff. I would make that part of a higher level training, because until you learn all the basics, you haven't even made a commitment to do that kind of training, in my mind. Let's focus on that.
Right. Right. And we all know most of us have been in the industry forever. I hear school after school saying, hey, you'll start with 100 students, and by midway you have 30 students and maybe 5 graduate black belts. So who are we really serving that way? So yeah, that's what I said, John. I'm willing to rethink this. It's a really large horse pill to be swallowing from the 30 years that I've been doing it. To say, all right, how do I reach these masses in a better, more efficient way?
Well, yeah, and that's the real question. And the fact that you're on this call shows you're open to it, which is the first step. Because if we're not open to improving the way we do business, without change, nothing changes.
Right.
You know, if I do what I've always done, I'm going to simply get what I've always got.
Yeah.
And now if that's enough, more power to you. If you want more, let's find a way to impact more people's lives. Simple as that. All right. So on that note, we've got to wrap this up, guys. I appreciate everyone being here. For you guys that are Mass clients, Thursday, same time, same place, we'll have another link for you guys that are on board. For any of you guys that want to get on board, the link is in the chat. And also, we have our 3-day training camp coming up in Jacksonville, Florida. Any of you guys want to come participate in that, it will be unlike anything you have ever seen. I guarantee it. So we'll have more information on that, and there's a link in the chat for that as well. There's a video in there that I highly recommend you watch, even if you don't think you can make it. Watch the video. It'll further change the way you think about what you're in. In the meantime, everyone have a wonderful day. Master Gartland, hang on just a second. And thank you, Larry. Glad you were here. And the rest of you guys have a great day.